Welcome to part 2 of the Mack DM600 pulpwood truck model that I'm making in 1/24 scale. As you can see, I now have the grapple loader installed temporarily, and I have done some work on the chassis. The loader, let's see if I can bring the camera around here a little bit. The loader is going to need some more work. I think this is, I bought it from a person on eBay, and he said it was 1/24 scale. As you can see, the chair here is right touching the roof of the cab. And if I put the stabilizer down, it doesn't even touch the ground. So it's a little bit too small. What I'm going to do about that? Well, one thing I'm going to have to do is increase the height of the, I don't know what the vertical support for the boom. And I'm going to have to lengthen the I-beam. Let me take the cab off here. And you can see the engine is in place and painted. I'm going to have to extend the I-beam a little bit. It's too short. It's too narrow, I guess you might say. I'm going to have to lengthen it a couple of scale feet. That should bring the stabilizer so that it's out far enough to do some good here. Can you see that? It's also rubbing against the fuel tank. I need to slide it back just a smidgen. But I've got room to work that. So, there's the grapple loader. That's what it looks like. And I have scribed the boards a little bit deeper on the bed. I've filled but not sanded yet because it's still not dry. The holes that were in the back, those are for the ramps that came with the Lindbergh L700 tractor and trailer, flatbed trailer. So there's that. And here's what the chassis looks like at this point. The engine I painted with gold, mixed Tester's gold with a little bit of Tester's, was it flat tan? That's what it is. To get that color. I kind of like it. And you can see that the steering linkage is in place. There it is. The steering linkage works. And I got the brake cylinders in place. They're all painted. The last time that I recorded, I discovered that the battery box was in the way here. So I moved the battery box from this location back behind the, I don't know what that would be, the rearmost battery box. And you can see I have the rear suspension in place too. So the next steps are going to be involving getting the bed of the truck ready, I guess. That and the grapple loader is going to need some help too. I still haven't got the exhaust. It's glued right together right there. I don't know if you can see it right in front of the truck. Right there. There's the exhaust, and that's a two-piece. You have to glue it together. And then I'm going to have to locate it and paint it. Oh, one of the things I was going to mention about the assembly of this kit, there's a couple of funky things. As I mentioned in the previous video, towards the end, there's an issue with the two-piece, I don't know what they're called, I forget what they're called, but the two pieces for the suspension there in the front. I had a problem with that. What was the other one? There was another problem somewhere else. And these are general assembly issues. The other thing I had, which was, it drove me nuts for about an hour or two. Don't know if you can see it, but this piece right in here that the passenger side fuel tank mounts to is a U-shaped black plastic piece. If you buy one of these DM600 kits, understand that the instruction manual says that that is part number, I think it's 283 or something like that. You will look a long time before you find it part number 283. There is no part number 283. I finally realized, looking at all the pieces and parts, that that is actually part number 181 on the sprues. I'm trying to find it here on the instruction manual. Where is it? Right there. Number 280. This piece right here. There is no 280. It's 181 on the sprues. So if you get to this point here, this is step 10, part or sub-step, I don't know, 3. It's number 181. Don't do like I did and spent hours looking for it. I think I spent more than an hour. I was getting very frustrated. I had to walk away from it for a day because I couldn't find it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll update this when I get some more work to show for it. I think the next step will be obviously sanding the back of the deck here and then laying out where I'm going to put the verticals. I'm going to use this plastruck tubing, and I'm going to drill holes, I think every 2 feet, but I'll have to do a little bit of layout before I can be sure of that. A lot of this is just going by the seat of the pants to see what looks right, what feels right. This was a bit of a challenge. This is actually it's 2-piece, but it's what do you call it, molded in half. This piece right here goes down, goes in back. I don't know if I can show it. Can you see it down in there? Down in there. Goes under the frame and comes up over here. And I'll just say that that's what it's supposed to do. It didn't really want to do that. You see it comes pretty close there. I had to do a lot of melting with it. I used a lighter to warm it up and bend it to shape to get it to get into place. And that and some clamps to hold it in place while I was moving it around. That was a challenge. Now, moving back to the frame here, I have, after looking at the bed in place, I realized I needed to raise it up. So I had the I-beams in here, and I added another piece of square styrene on top of it and painted those. So that's going to get it to something approaching the correct height. And right there, you can see the drive shaft situation. I can't remember what this piece is called right there, but that's an intermediate bearing for the drive shaft. So there's one drive shaft that goes to here. I cut the universal off one end and added a styrene tube there, and this is the short drive shaft here, and I added a short piece of tubing right there. The intermediate bearing, there's a piece of C channel right there to hold it in place, and this is just a piece of evergreen. No, it's not evergreen. It's plastruck styrene, a rectangular piece that I actually cut it down to make it a little bit lower. It was too tall originally. And there's a piece of evergreen styrene to make the bearing part of it, the round part. I've been trying to get this silly long drive shaft to glue into place there, and it just doesn't want to glue into place, but I'll get it. I'll keep after it. So there's the chassis. I have the bed pretty well set up, and I have the vertical members almost all glued in place. They're setting right now. Let me see if I can go pick it up. Don't go away. Okay, there it is. That's the pulpwood body in place. And when I worked in Maine, I worked for a paper company that took 8-foot pulpwood. So there's a scale 8-foot piece of wood in the bed of the pulpwood truck. These are a scale approximately 8 feet tall, and I will eventually trim these off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of styrene. Oh no. The fluorescent light is flashing again here. Let's turn that off, I guess. Alright. Get rid of the flashing. So I'll cut these off, and then what I'll do is I'm going to put a piece of strip styrene over the outside to hold them in place a little better. I don't know why this isn't. There it goes. Is that falling into place now? No. Doesn't want to fall into place. The idea with this was to have these 4 scale feet apart. No, 2 scale feet apart. So 4-foot pulpwood could be carried in this rack, and the 8-foot one would cover 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you could put 2 tiers of 8-foot pulpwood in the truck. 1 tier, and where's my other piece of pulpwood? These are a little bit oversized. I gotta get smaller ones. So there. So we carry 2 tiers, 8-foot pulpwood. So there's the bed. I still have some work to do. I'm going to put some horizontal supports. I don't know, probably not all the way to the top. And I will put up here on the cab end, need some headache racks. So I put some supports up here for the head, to protect the cab. But I'm going to put, I don't know if I'm going to use this material or not, but something like that, some kind of wire mesh. That looks a little bit too big, out of scale, but something like that. And I will have to put, obviously, some horizontal supports. I've got some I-beams here that I will put across. I'll put some at top, middle, to add more beef to that. And I just don't know. I don't like that screen. It's too big. I don't want to use tell material. I think it's going to be too fine, too small. So, still looking for an option, a best option for that. The cab, at this point, I should probably get going on putting the cab into the paint shop. I haven't done anything with it yet, but that's basically the next step in the construction sequence for the instruction sheet. So start assembling the cab and get that into the paint shop while I'm working on the bed. So welcome, thanks for watching, And I hope you enjoyed it. And stay tuned for more installments on the Mack DM600 pulpwood truck. And oh, for those of you who are pulpwood or loggers, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier or not. This is a style of truck that I experienced working in the Maine woods back in the 70s. So I'm kind of dating it to the 70s, 4-foot pulpwood, with some 8-foot. The company I work for used 8-foot pulpwood, but some pulp mills were still taking 4-foot. So the loggers had to have beds which would carry 4-foot or 8-foot. So thank you very much for watching. Bye. I recently had a request from someone to see what models I have built, and those start with those 2 Jeeps up on the top. The left one is a Jeepster Commando, and on the right there's a Jeep CJ7. Both of those were I purchased as, you could call them junkyard lots or blue bombs. They'd been assembled and painted, and I had to disassemble them and fix them up and repaint them, of course, and reassemble. Then we have the Volkswagen shelf. Both of those, I've owned a VW Beetle and a VW Vanagon in the past, so that's a little eulogy to my past VW life. On this shelf, the Model A Ford Woody, I built. The Dodge Charger I did not. I bought that already painted. Down here we have the Chevy department. The Corvette is a, oh, what do they call those? It's a pre-painted, factory painted car that you assemble. It's Route 66 model. And the El Camino is one that I built, and I think I put, if you look under the hood, that one has wiring for the ignition, spark plug wires. And then down here is a little trip down memory lane. I did one of those Hubley metal kits, and I built that just about a year ago. And that's it for this display case. I've got another display case. This is my other display case. There's my 2 Corvettes that I just finished this past winter. And then we have the Mustang shelf. Oop, got a reflection. Sorry about that. The orange Mustang is one that I bought on eBay, pre-painted. And I did some touch-up. I did the chrome painting on the sides. The 2006 Mustang is one that I finished just last fall. And then we come down here to the Fairlane GT. I can't get rid of that reflection. I'll turn the light off. I guess that'll get rid of it. And then next to that is a 1932 Ford Tudor Model A. My brother had a Model B Tudor, so I painted that up. His never got out of primer, so it kind of looked like that the whole time I knew it. Down here, the T-Bird was another one that I bought pre-painted on eBay, so I'll kind of slide past that. The Ford Explorer is to remind me of the green Ford Explorer I owned. 2000, I guess that was. That's one that was pre-painted, so I'll just slide by that one. There's a Chevy Love 1978, 77. I had one back in 1977. And there's a Chevy S10 pickup. I had one of those, 1996. And there's a Chevy Vega, 1976. I had one of those. And I built that. That is an old model from 1976, 77. And then there's a Chevy Malibu SS 396, 1966, I believe that one is. I painted that one. And then there's the Olds 442 that I painted. And then there's the GTO Pontiac. Gotta have a GTO. But I don't have just one. I don't have two. I've got three. I have several more models to be built. More GTOs. I also have another SS396 to build, and I have another El Camino. I love those 60s, I think it's called the A-body GMs. I wish I could get more of them. I've got a Malibu station wagon upstairs too to build one of these days. Thanks for watching. Bye.